I mean, at some point I was playing fearless and I can do it. I have to believe 100%. I have nothing to lose. Just go for it. Like, and also my coach told me, no matter like which shot you're doing, believe 100% and just follow. And then it's when the turning point happened. I started to play like really, really good. And I think, today, like I'm happy, extra happy, because she didn't lose it, I took it. Like I was playing really well. So this is, for me, the most important.
Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim and Chris. On today's Wimbledon Day 6 catch-up.
World number one, Swiatek and Jabeur get knocked out.
Djokovic stutters through in 4 sets.
And Emma Raducanu pulls out of the mixed doubles with Andy Murray.
Chris, today is the 6th of July and we are here to catch up on Day 6 from Wimbledon at Tennis Weekly HQ. It's been another wet day at Wimbledon where the elements have once again wreaked havoc with the schedule, but it has not been short of yet more drama, particularly, Chris, in the ladies' singles. The world number one and current French Open champion Iga Swiatek is out. Two-time finalist Ons Jabeur also out. And former Wimbledon champion Jelena Rybakina, she demolished another Grand Slam champion in Caroline Wozniacki, love and won. So lots of high-octane stuff going on in the ladies' singles. And in other news, the Andy Murray Wimbledon farewell also came to an abrupt halt today, with Emma Raducanu withdrawing from their mixed doubles, citing stiffness in her right wrist. Chris, it's been a crazy day, and I quite like it because we're sort of experimenting with our recording locations, and we've changed it up from the decking next to Court 18.
We have. We're now on the roof of the media roof.
We're about as high as you could possibly get at Wimbledon.
I think we're actually probably as high as the roof of court number one at this point. And the view is lovely. The rain has stopped.
We are recording in pitch black.
We are, but I think that if anything, it's just to relax us after what has been a very chaotic day.
It has been chaos. I mean, we were looking at some of the scores, with like an hour to go, and it was like there was warm-ups going on, there was suspended play going on.
Matches being moved. Yeah, it was just all drama towards the end of the day. But perhaps the biggest story, particularly from a British point of view, is the Andy Murray, Emma Raducanu mixed doubles, which we were all looking forward to. It is not happening. And what are your thoughts on this? Because I feel like it has divided the nation in terms of, whose side people are on. Judy Murray's come out on social media saying she's astonished with the decision. Where do you stand on the matter? I never really thought it would happen, if I'm completely honest about it. I felt like it was mainly something that would mean that final match in doubles wouldn't be his final match. So it would kind of ease the burden on his emotional sort of system, because that's so much to take, knowing that would be the final thing. At least he had the mixed doubles to look forward to. So I think it was more to kind of mitigate the feeling that this was the end. And I think that was kind of how I saw it. Did I think that Raducanu would be the one to pull out? I didn't, to be honest. I thought it would be a case...
Could you put any blame on Raducanu, do you think?
I don't think so. I think it is going to divide people because people feel like she's denied Murray his last match. I think that the send-off and the farewell was wonderful.
It feels like we've had the farewell.
It was very strange, the number one scheduling. I felt like maybe they knew that it might not be happening, because that would have actually gone on about 8 or 9 p.m. today. It was very odd, because that's not the great sort of preparation for your round 4 match. So I am very much on the side that if Andy Murray was in the same position as Emma Raducanu, having not been this far in a slam since that US Open, and she's feeling a bit of pain in the wrist, he would say, Emma, please do not push it. And I think it's a shame the way things have worked out, but I do think that she's a professional singles player, and being a tennis player, you have to be selfish. You have to put yourself first.
You do, and I think the only thing I could put potentially on Emma Raducanu, because when we were impressed, she did say she didn't even think about it. She made her decision.
You're saying she should have thought about it.
she made her decision within 10 seconds, and perhaps there should have been a little bit more of a, not knee-jerk reaction as such, and maybe a bit more of a considered discussion with the team?
You never know, really. I'm sure it was more considered than that. I think she could have gone out to Sakari and this would have been something she would have played.
Yeah.
So you never know how it's going to go. And I think when you enter into this, and some very interesting comments that I've seen online, is that maybe you should have asked someone who was much more likely to be able to play and had played multiple events at a slam before. Raducanu obviously has skipped the French Open because of physical concerns. She's now in a situation where she can compete for a quarterfinal of a slam.
Absolutely.
Probably it was a case that he had to pick from the people who weren't already entered. So maybe he should have gone for a Heather Watson type, but we did put it to our listeners on Twitter. It's been a very hotly contested poll. The options that people came out with, so most people, 40%, said that yes, singles comes first, and then 35% said no, it's Andy Murray, you should play it.
It's quite split.
And then 21 said it was a tough call. So ultimately, I do think that...
I think there's going to be more fallout to come from this, and perhaps it's going to be a question that comes up after Raducanu's singles match tomorrow. We shall see. But let's move on to the matches we did have today, and we're going to start with the women's action on the show courts. And we've got to start, Chris, with world number one Iga Swiatek being dumped out by Yulia Putinseva. Putinseva won in 3 sets, 3-6, 6-1, 6-2. Iga Swiatek's 21-match winning streak coming to an end. How big of a shock is this, do you think?
I think obviously there's been a lot of form from Putinseva coming into this. She won the title in Birmingham. I think when it comes to grass, and this is something that Iga did talk about, she doesn't have to reflect too much on this loss because ultimately it's a surface you play on for a month, and then she's now back on the clay, looking forward to Paris and playing in the Roland Garros site. So I think when it comes to winning streaks, the 21 is not as meaningful as the 8 and the title on grass, because I do think it does prepare you much better for a slam like this. I was surprised by the nature of those last 2 sets. I did not think that Iga would go away and lose a 6-1 set.
I mean, to be fair, Putinseva, I mean, she was pretty much flawless in that second set.
It was unbelievable tennis.
One unforced error. I mean,
variety.
It's been very impressive. It's been a very impressive grass court season from Putinseva so far, because as you said, she won that title. She was going into the grass courts being like, I'm a clay courter. That's my preferred surface.
Yeah.
I'm always kind of surprised how well I've been doing on the grass, and it's continued into Wimbledon.
It's a bit of a Paolini, isn't it, in terms of never knowing that she could do it. A bit of a Vondrousova last year, who'd never really had match wins on grass.
What was Swiatek struggling with with Putinseva? Was it just simply that Putinseva's level, was too good for anyone, including the world number one?
I think it's tough to say. Ultimately, it wasn't her best performance. She was making a few more errors, but Putinseva was putting a lot of balls back in the court. A lot of it was kind of forcing Iga to go for more than she was comfortable with. And I think the difference here is that Putinseva didn't miss in those key moments, especially at the start of the 3rd set. And even when it did get a bit close, she was able to serve it out. So ultimately, as a world number one, was this her best performance? No. And something that did come up is the fact that she didn't play a warm-up event. And I asked her about this in press, and this is what she had to say. Iga, do you think that if you had played a lead-in tournament for this, it might have kind of helped getting comfortable on the grass? And would you kind of consider playing a warm-up tournament next year?
I mean, I did it last year, so we always consider every option. But you never know. I could have got injured in a second match because I didn't because I practiced straight away after Roland Garros in that case. So you never know. I think my coaches are pretty good at planning, so they chose the right option for this year, but we'll see what's going to happen next year.
Hang on, Chris, you're telling me that going to see Taylor Swift in Liverpool doesn't count as a warm-up event?
Well, that was another thing that was asked about. She said things she didn't want to say Taylor Swift was a regret.
Okay. So Taylor Swift, admittedly, I did see her on her Eras tour at Wembley. So
but did you fly from country to country?
I didn't. But hang on, Novak Djokovic flew, I believe, to go watch Serbia in the Euros and then came straight back to
he was
Wimbledon
recovering.
practice.
He couldn't do too much on the knee at the time, maybe. But I do think that
Jet setting.
I do think that ultimately, it is always an option for her to play a grass court warm-up tournament. She said she needs to recover after Paris, which makes sense, and winning the French Open title, that is a huge exertion, having won Rome and Madrid. I do understand that, but if she is going to prioritise Wimbledon as a slam that she wants to win, she's going to have to rethink that schedule.
Yeah, it definitely feels like she needs to play a warm-up event. I mean, just talking about
Surbiton, Joel, maybe.
Oh, maybe Surbiton.
Surbiton's not there
Surbiton's
next
not
year.
finished anymore. So
Birmingham 125.
Yeah, I can't necessarily see it being the new Queen's WTA event if it's the immediate
She normally
week
plays in Germany. I
after.
think probably
Yeah.
Bad Homburg will be the move.
I mean, just talking about Swiatek before we move on. I mean, I've been looking at her Grand Slam results outside the French Open. They've been actually pretty ordinary over the last couple of years. How do we look at Swiatek in terms of the fact that she's got all these ranking points? She's by far and ahead of everyone else in terms of being the WTA ranked #1 player. But when it comes to Grand Slams, it just feels like, yeah, she's really good at the French Open. She's imperious at the French Open, but elsewhere, she's not really living up to being top billing.
I think she wins a lot of tournaments, and most weeks she is the best player playing on the tour. I do think that it will start to be a question mark if you only win, the one slam a year, then you are a clay court specialist. But the most important slam that she can point to is that she did win the US Open. So she can do it on any surface. She is a very good hard courter. She won the end of season finals. But I do think she will be looking to win another hard court slam because, especially the US Open, I think that will be a really big goal for her because she wants to not only cement herself in the ranking points, but also with the Grand Slam titles.
Well, we shall see. Definitely work to do for Iga Swiatek, and more work to do also for two-time finalist Ons Jabeur, who lost to Elina Svitolina 6-1, 7-6. Again, Chris, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yes.
I asked Swiatek how much of a shock was that? How much of a shock was it that Jabeur went out to Svitolina?
I mean, I personally wasn't that surprised by this result. I did think that Svitolina was going to take this match. I was surprised it didn't go to 3. I did think there were chances. There was a set point, I believe, that Svitolina had to save. I was there watching it. Ons was not at her top of her form.
No.
There was a few
I mean,
too
that
many
first
errors.
set was it just flew by.
It did fly by, and
Svitolina.
and
I mean, so many unforced errors.
Yeah,
from
it was a
Jabeur.
lot, and sometimes she does do this, and she is a slow starter. And it's
She
almost.
goes too big, I think, in kind of pressure moments, and
I think she felt the pressure today, and Svitolina really rose to the occasion the same way she did at last year's tournament, clearly inspired by the memories of being on centre court. She was hitting big, hitting winners, moving well. It was a level of tennis we haven't seen from her since probably Australia. I was really, really impressed with the way that she played.
Is Svitolina a contender? Because she is the only player of the Final Four from last year now to make it past round 3. Do you put her in that favourites bracket now? Swiatek is out, Jabeur is out.
Ooh, well, normally when I predict
Sabalenka
someone's
not
gonna,
here?
yeah, exactly. Normally when I think someone's gonna win a slam, they win another slam a couple later, and I did think she would win in Australia. So I think she's definitely got the tennis for it. I think ultimately it will come down to how inspired someone can be. I think this slam is either going to be Rybakina, Goff, or it will be an inspired performance from someone on the court.
I mean, I think it's going to have to be, given the level we've seen from Goff so far, but also the level we've seen from Rybakina, because you were at the first set of her match
of the day, we called it.
We thought it was going to be match
I
of the
saw
day.
you just before and you said, good luck,
we were
enjoy
so
it,
excited.
have a good time.
We were pumped. We went to Wozniacki's round 2 press conference at like 11 p.m. with Danish media, and we were very, very excited for this. She spoke about in that press how Rybakina plays a little bit like Petra Kvitova. Well, the scoreline, I mean, it was very actually like Kvitova, Eugenie Bouchard-esque actually in that ladies' final. 6-love, 6-1. Rybakina 36 winners, 21 unforced errors. Wozniacki 4 winners, 6 unforced errors. Just one question on this match. Is Elena Rybakina the standout favourite now for the Wimbledon title?
I would say yes.
Ooh, okay.
I think that she won on very windy conditions the other day. I think if her fitness and if her immune system can stand up to the challenge, this was unplayable. It really reminded me of that performance she put in against Emma Raducanu after Raducanu had won the slam. I think that was in Brisbane, and it was love and one.
Yep.
And Raducanu did not play badly. Rybakina just completely took the ball and the match away from her. It was all on her racket. And I think with 36 winners, 21 unforced errors, she could still miss 21 times. And she's making so many winners, it doesn't matter.
It definitely was a statement performance from Rybakina, and the fact that, as I say, Sabalenka's out, Swiatek's out.
She was your pick, Joel, for the title.
I know she was. I'm actually.
Why haven't you said that?
I know. I wanted to keep it. I want to keep it on the down low for now, but I'm very excited for that. I mean, looking elsewhere around the grounds, Harriet Dart is out.
Oh, this was a tough one.
I know.
Joel.
We're gonna have to brace ourselves. We're gonna have to talk about it for the next couple of minutes. But she lost to Wong of China. 3 sets, 2-6, 7-5, 6-3. I'm not going to lie, Chris, this felt like she snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
I mean, you couldn't have put it better. I was there for that very, very close end of the second set. She missed a sitter of a volley to go match point up. Then she managed
Did you
to
feel like the crowd knew it? They sensed in that moment?
You do find, and even if a tennis crowd isn't that knowledgeable, you do find that the noises change when they can tell that something has shifted. I think we all thought potentially she was home and dry when she went to 3-love, points for 4-1, missed another sitter essentially.
Yep.
It is heartbreak, especially because you do think that potentially if Katie Boulter had got through that match with Harriet Dart, there's a really good opportunity here, and it's a shame that a Brit didn't take it.
Is this why, regarding just sort of that dynamic between Dart and Boulter, with Dart, I just feel like, I say, that mental edge, that mental toughness is perhaps lacking at the moment, and we saw that in this match. The fact that she was like 3-love up in that final set and won 6 games kind of straight in a row, regardless of defeating Boulter, I personally would still put Boulter above her, given I think she's a bit more calm, I think, in these kind of moments and can close out matches, whereas, as I say, with today, it looks like Dart wasn't able to get it done.
I think with Katie, it's not nerves that really affect the performance. I think she's either hitting the ball well or she's not, and she's quite open about that, the balls were firing way beyond the baseline, also in the net.
It can look
Dart.
ugly,
it can.
but it also can look brilliant.
It can.
Whereas Dart is sort of in the middle, isn't she?
Well, it's quite
kind of
Kvitova-esque, isn't it? In terms of the ball striking, or Rybakina in terms of a good day.
Ostapenko,
Ostapenko, exactly.
That sort of player,
Yeah, well, I think with Dart, it was more of a case that when it was on her racket, it was tougher to put it away. But I do think she showed a lot of resilience, regrouping and getting up in that set. But I think as you get close to the finish line, it's very hard to finish these matches off.
Well, elsewhere, speaking of other players, speaking of Ostapenko, Ostapenko came through. I watched the second set of that against Bernarda Pera.
Wow, on court 12, were you?
I was.
First time there this tournament.
First time, I know, exactly.
Joel's not on centre.
How dare you call me a Queen's person?
Is that because I was on centre?
Yeah, it might have been a little bit.
I banished you to court 12.
Yeah, I was a little bit sad actually, because I was looking forward to Swiatek Ostapenko, but Ostapenko coming through. She's looking very good. Kalinskaya as well, Barbora Krejcikova, and Danielle Collins late into the night. Well, not that late actually, but with the sunlight setting, a 6-4 win against Haddad Maia.
Well, that was very
another player we're not
impressive.
really talking about.
Yeah, it was very impressive, and we have to say that we were recording our little social clip, so do check out our social channels, and Danielle Collins was actually directly opposite the room, so she was watching us make a fool of ourselves as we recorded this clip. So if you want to see what she saw, then do check out our social channels. But for Collins, her first time to the second week of Wimbledon.
I mean, she's just smashing it, isn't she, at all the Grand Slams this season?
What a
isn't she?
way to finish your career.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. We'll have to see how she gets on, but we're going to take a quick break now. Do join us in the second half, where we will be taking a look at all the men's action from day 6, including Novak Djokovic surviving a scare against Alexi Popyrin. So do not go anywhere.
Yeah, pretty cool. I think a lot more impressive that he was able to do it back in the day, beating the number 2 player in the world as 50-something in the world. Really, really happy that we get to kind of share this moment together again, or not again, but together for the first time. And I'm just looking forward to this next match. We've been working really well together on the court, and I think that with this the new coaching rule, I think that the information that he's able to give me during the match, he can help keep me in the right state of mind. And I've really enjoyed the kind of back and forth we've been able to have during the matches.
That was Ben Shelton talking about joining his father and coach Brian in the second week club at Wimbledon 30 years after he made the round of 16 in 1994. Chris, quite a nice family story there, and what I enjoyed after the win for Shelton today against Shapovalov, he said to his dad, "We're back, big dog."
Wow, that's quite American, I'd say. I'm not sure how I can describe that. Yeah, I'm
going to call you big dog.
We're back.
Actually, it already sounds really bad.
Or you could say Tennis Weekly is back and we're back, big dog. I'm not sure that would be one that we will be repeating. I think Kim needs to put a stop to that. But again, we love these stories when families do this. We've seen it before, but I have to say that obviously he did have that very big win in 1994. I think this is where he took out, he's mentioned former Wimbledon champion Michael Stitch, but does that mean that even if Shelton does take out, for example, a top seed, he's going to go out the next round? Is that the family omen?
I think, possibly. And also, I mean, Shelton, he must be knackered.
He's playing doubles as well.
Is he playing doubles? Wow.
That match is suspended, but I think they're waiting to see if it will go back on.
I mean, if there is one match to drop out, I feel like he's played, 15 out of 15 sets?
He has, and Emma's also...
It's a lot.
Emma dropped out of the doubles and Shelton's still playing. He's played every day.
It's a lot, exactly. Well, it's interesting to see. It was quite funny, actually, because he thought he was going to be on centre court for his next match, but no, he's going to be on number 1 court. So he's still yet to reach what he called the pinnacle. So
the big court for the big dog.
Well, exactly. Some motivation for him there. But Novak Djokovic, he did come through against Alexi Popyrin in 4 sets, 4-6, 6-3, 6-4, 7-6. Chris, these two played each other at the Australian Open. Popyrin has been quoted to say he believes he should have won it. And today, again, it was a very close contest. Popyrin nearly pushing it to 5. I was actually impressed with how he took it to a tiebreak in that 4th set. But what did you make of Djokovic? Because last time we saw him, you were not his biggest fan. You didn't think his movement was looking good against Jacob Fernley.
I just think it's very hard to watch someone who you know has a knee injury moving on the surface. And Djokovic is someone, if he has got an injury, he tends to make it known when he has got potential struggles with it. I think you do see that on the court, and it just makes it uncomfortable every time he slides or he pulls out of a serve. And I think in his last match and his first round match, he really wasn't moving that well, and he was a bit late on the ball. And I think that takes time. And so for me personally, it wasn't that I wasn't a fan of the performance. I just think it was very strange watching a Novak Djokovic that's limited in that way. I think this performance was actually better. I think he did have to move more.
Yeah.
I think he's doing just enough. And I think that first set was really him figuring out just how much he needed to do or how much he needed to apply himself in this match to get through to the next round. But I mean, he's getting through the rounds.
He's getting through, but definitely there's a few levels that you feel Djokovic could go up. There was a nice moment, actually, and it's something we need to address. It was 1-4, 30 all, and there was a big crowd cheer. It's because the Euros, England were playing Switzerland. There was a penalty shootout. It was very tense. It was also very awkward because Iga Swiatek's press conference was on at the same time, and it was sort of a bit first world tennis problems. Do I watch the football or do I go to...
Well, you didn't have to worry about that because you sent me.
Yeah, I made the right decision.
You sent me to
I watched
Iga.
the football and I sent you to the
So I think we're covering all bases, and I'm very glad that result happened because otherwise I'm not sure that we'd be having quite as an upbeat a chat on the rooftop at the media centre.
Yeah, it's so tricky with Wimbledon being, I think, on at the same time as the football.
Everyone is watching it.
Everyone is watching it. I mean, we're impressed.
And everyone's a sports person. They love it.
Exactly. I mean, elsewhere on the show courts, we had Alexander Zverev defeating Cam Norrie in straight sets. I mean, Chris, this really did come down to one epic tiebreak in that 3rd set, 17-15 to Zverev. It was looking, I mean, I was sort of looking at it from the outside on one of the outside courts, and I was like, if Norrie can just push this to a 4th, then we're in business.
He was so close to getting fired up. He just needed 1 point, and I honestly think we were
so
shifted.
close.
We were indeed. But ultimately, Zverev is serving very well. I think he's actually playing some of the best grass court tennis I've seen him play.
No one's really talking
He's never made a deep run here. He's never been past the 4th round, so he's equalled that feat now. And I think he might live up to his seedings potentially because he's playing well, he's serving well. The double faults seem to be a thing of the past, and he was pretty rock solid in that tiebreak overall.
And we also had Holger Rune come through in 5 sets against Quentin Hallis. That match was moved to number 1
Navone
court.
Part 2.
Yeah, exactly. So good win for Rune. I mean, elsewhere around the grounds, we'll get onto the Frenchmen in a sec because they had a very good day. But first of all, Daniil Medvedev, his match against Jan-Lennard Struff was carried over. Medvedev won in 4 sets in the end in a 4-set tiebreak. And you got to speak to him, impress about it.
I did, because my ultimate question I wanted to know is, surely as a Grand Slam winner, when he saw the weather forecast and he was on court number 2, he can't have been happy. And here's what he had to say. For the match, when you saw the weather forecast and saw that you were scheduled on court 2, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it's going to be a long day. I actually thought we would not play at all yesterday, but the weather was actually better than what it was supposed to be. So we managed to get full 3 sets and then got unlucky with the rain. And I felt like today, what I saw yesterday, I felt like it could get actually lucky. And we were very unlucky with the girls also playing in front of us. It was like 6-1, 3-1. We both go warm up. Then it was like the longest set ever. Then the third set was 3-1. We start to re-warm up 3-all. So it was roller coaster match. And then we come in, rain. So it was definitely not easy, but I'm happy to win. I feel good physically, which is important, and looking forward to tomorrow.
I mean, he took it pretty well. He was all smiles. He actually seemed to be quite positive.
Medvedev taking a question well?
Well, he's actually very jolly in the press conference,
Okay.
and I think that ultimately he's just pleased to have got the match done. I think he thought the forecast was looking worse than it was, but now I don't think he'll have to worry too much about being put on an outside court because most matches will be scheduled on one or centre. But it is an advantage, and that's something I wanted to talk about, is that matches are moving, some matches aren't finishing. How much of an advantage is it playing under the roof and getting your match out the way early?
Absolute. I think it's a definite advantage, particularly I think in the men's tournament when it's best of 5, and I think it's a balance, and I think that the tournament needs to get it right in terms of looking at those matchups and making sure it's as fair as possible, because I think I was reading on social media yesterday the fact that we had like 4 winners go through, but none of them were scheduled to face each other. So there's always like an instant kind of imbalance between
Every
that
matchup.
player and it's like you kind of wonder, you just sort of want it to be as fair and as level pegging as possible. Yes, I understand that things can get in the way, like the rain and the weather, etc. But I don't necessarily think we got that right with the schedule yesterday.
I think that's completely fair because you don't want matchups to be
Decided by like, I had to play 4
5
days in a
sets
row
and I had to play
or whatever.
late the day before. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. And with the Dimitrov situation, sure, he had a test early on with the 5 sets, but he played a 3-set match, he got it done, and he's had the rest day. So we'll see how those matches go. It will be quite fascinating to see what happens when you look at the different matchups tomorrow. Obviously, Medvedev was playing today, played yesterday. Dimitrov had the rest day.
It's a blur.
It is, and I think that now we know, what the lineups will be. But not everyone played today, did they?
Not everyone, and we had quite a tricky kind of spell, I think, because players had to come out with about an hour and a half to go. I thought, this is not a nice period where it's still quite crucial for you and you almost want to get the match done. You feel that pressure as well, not wanting it to go in tomorrow. But
Taylor Fritz got it done though.
I saw
that as the sun was setting.
Yeah, Taylor Fritz did get it done, straight sets. I mean, that was very impressive.
He was really good
against Alejandro Tabillo. I mean, very quickly, what did you make of that?
Well, he said grass is just not that physical, and he served his way through that. He played really, really well. But maybe it was more physical than you think, because unfortunately Luca Pui had to
against Alex de Minaur
had to withdraw, helping the schedulers, I guess.
Very true. A bit of a shame that, but it was a great day regardless for the Frenchman, because we had Hugo Humbert, Pericard and Arthur Fils all come through their singles matches today.
It's like rubbing it into the English wounds.
I know, Lucas Pui, maybe he doesn't want to hear all these results. But let's start with Pericard, because a lot of people talking about him. He's miles ahead in the ace leaderboard at the moment in the men's singles. 25 aces today, just the 3 double faults. I think he was serving at like 75% first serves in. To me, this actually feels a little bit like the Christopher Eubanks story from last year, who was another big server, big forehand, a little bit limited on the backhand, but hey, he's making the most of it.
He is, and a lucky loser. That was a big surprise. People thought he was a cert to qualify. His ranking is in the top 100, but his big breakthrough happened too late to actually get into the Wimbledon draw. And I think that you have some information about when was the last time a lucky loser made it to this round.
Yes, I mean, he is, as you said, 4th player in the Open era to make the rounds of 16 as a lucky loser. And the other players to do that, Bernard Mitten, 1973, Jaideep Mukherjee, 1973, 2 lucky losers in 1 year. Interesting. And Dick Norman, 1995.
Wow.
I do not know any of those players. Listeners, let us know. Do you know any of these?
Do you remember Dick Norman?
Do you remember any of these lucky losers?
Kim, if you're listening, do you know who Dick Norman is?
But very good from Pericard. And Arthur Fils, we haven't really spoken much of him recently. He's almost actually a little bit in the shadow, I think, of Pericard. I feel like Pericard's stolen his thunder a little bit.
He didn't get that big win that he wanted in the way that he wanted against Hurkacz. Obviously, that ended with a retirement in a very crucial moment. So you have to think that does take the shine off things for him and his progression. He did manage to edge through. He's definitely likes to spend a lot of time on the tennis court. But again, this will be a really big introduction to a lot of tennis fans in Wimbledon who haven't heard of him before, and I'm sure he'll win a lot of fans here.
Who do you think's got the bigger upside, Pericard or Feast? Because you are a big Feast
I'm a
fan.
Feast man.
Are you still a Feast man?
I am. I think he's supremely talented. He's a lot younger than people think as well. I think he's 19 or 20 now, so his game's only going to get bigger. He's physically very strong, and I think he's got all the weapons. It's just the focus that needs to remain for 3 sets in a row if possible.
Yeah, I definitely think he's got a little bit more. He's a little bit more well-rounded. I
More
think.
balanced.
Yeah, than Pericard. There's certainly, I think, things that Pericard can improve on, but with the way he's serving at the moment and the way he's working on the forehand side, he's definitely going to be one to watch. I mean, Chris, just lastly, before we look at the order of play, I said yesterday Fabio Fognini was a set away from the second week of Wimbledon. Who would have thought that at the start of the fortnight? And
Fognini, no, I did not think that. Yeah,
that was as good as it got, because Roberto Bautista Agut, another player, to be fair, that we weren't really thinking would be getting to week 2 of Wimbledon, he got it done in 5.
He did get it done in 5. What a turnaround! I mean, I guess it's very good for him to get through that match. I think if he'd lost it, it would have been particularly bad for him. But I mean, a good performance. But I think that the person who's sad about that is your mate who thought he was going to win the whole tournament.
That's very true, actually. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one. He's not really been around, similar to Fabio Fognini. So to see him come through into week 2, yeah, very good story for him. And looking forward ahead to all of the action and our order of play for day 7. Here we go, Chris. Predictions time. Winner and number of sets. Here we go. Alcaraz, Humbert.
I think there could be an upset. I'm going to say Humbert in 4.
Oh, wow. Okay, big.
I'm not sure I believe
Starting
that,
off
though,
big
listeners.
there.
I'm not sure, but Alcaraz was not convincing.
Okay, Sun, Raducanu.
I think Raducanu is going to come through in straight sets.
Navarro, Goff.
Goff in 3.
Oh, I think Navarro could pull an upset.
Do you think Alcaraz is going to win, though? Just to check.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think so. What about Paulini Keys? This could be match of the day.
I think Paulini's going to come through that one. Potentially in 2
yeah.
tight sets,
Yeah.
7-6, 7-5,
Yeah, I
something
can
like
see that. I agree with you there. Sinner, Shelton. Surely Shelton's run out of steam.
I think he has as well. I do think Sinner's going to come through in a pretty straightforward fashion.
Yeah, okay. And then Dimitrov, Medvedev.
I think Dimitrov played very well against Monfils, but I do think that Medvedev probably will be able to come through that. They've not played for like 7 years on grass, so it's quite a level playing field going into that one.
Dimitrov's just playing like opponents from yesteryear, because he had that match against Monfils and hadn't played him in 8 years.
And Monfils played against Stan. Yeah. It's like the legends pathway.
It's like the legends pathway, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, elsewhere, Badosa Vekic on number 2 court.
Big opportunity.
We've got Paul, RBA, Bautista Agut as well. Yeah. I mean, those are mostly all the singles matches kind of going on that are left. Just very quickly, Vekic and Badosa.
I think Badosa is going to get that one done. I think she's really got the bit between her teeth.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, very emotional kind of week and going into next week for Paula Badosa, so we'll have to wait and see. But looking forward to all the action from day 7. Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed our latest episode of the Tennis Weekly podcast. Remember to subscribe to us to stay up to date on all the action to come from Wimbledon. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcasting platforms out there. And if you like what you're hearing, then make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
You can also follow us on social media or email the show. If you'd like to see what Danielle Collins saw whilst we were recording,
Who wouldn't?
Then check out our Facebook, Instagram, our TikTok, our YouTube, or our X channel. And the handle of all of those is Tennis Weekly Pod. You can purchase our Tennis Weekly merch at etsy.com/shop/tennisweeklypodcast. You can email us at tennisweeklypod@gmail.com, or do check out our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And as always, we will be back tomorrow from Wimbledon at Tennis Weekly HQ for our Day 7 catch-up. Chris, we are reaching the halfway point.
We're almost at halfway.
So, yes, I hope you can join us for that. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. We'll see you again soon.